Hello everyone, and I think it's time for another stupid unscripted rant. I haven't made one of these in a few days, so let's just get into this. A few videos ago, I said that I would not like this to be an anti-feminism channel ever, and I'd like to explain why that is. It's because I think the entire sort of loosely knit anti-feminism, anti-social justice social sphere on YouTube is complete garbage, just total crap. And what brings me to say this is a recent sort of upsurge of me seeing some big YouTubers in this community that are complaining that other bigger YouTubers have begun making fun of feminism, sort of intruding on their turf, and that a lot of smaller YouTubers have joined the trend of making fun of feminists and have been making quote-unquote ponage videos. So I take some issue with this, and I'd like to explain why. I think that all of these channels, the good, the bad, the small, the big, are all pretty crappy. And the reason for that is that debunking feminist ideas takes no intellectual rigor, okay? That's the reason why so many are jumping into this. You see a radical feminist making a crazy sort of claim that all women should be released from prison, and there are several million ways to explain why this idea is wrong. You could show statistical data showing that this is stupid. You could draw an analogy. You can do 1,000 things. And that is indeed why there are so many channels like this. Everyone wants their opinion heard, and there are countless ways to debunk these ideas. So what's my problem here? It's not difficult. See, there are maybe 2-3 channels that actually bring something new to the table, that do something that other people can't, or that either inform or entertain you. This is what I'm looking for in my videos. The majority of channels are simply absolute nobodies who find an objectionable opinion made by SJWs and sort of philosophize why it's wrong. This community sort of grew out of the atheist community, which had the same problem. The YouTube atheist community had maybe one guy, Thunderfoot, who actually debunked stupid ideas on a scientific basis because he was an actual scientist. The vast majority of them would just sit around and espouse their opinions. It didn't require any sort of learning. You know, you'd read a few articles, you'd maybe Google search some shit to find something to corroborate your ideas, but it wasn't difficult. It didn't require anything of anyone, and that exactly is the problem. See, I look at these people and I think to myself, you're complaining that other people are sort of intruding on your territory, but how much better are you compared to opponent channel? What is the huge difference? What is it that these larger channels do that is so much better than these smaller channels? What is it exactly? And what is it that they do that's better than the huge channels that completely focus on just pure mockery? I hear them say that this is, as I saw one YouTuber say, entry-level anti-feminism, but all anti-feminism is entry-level feminism, is all entry-level anti-feminism, because none of this is difficult. None of this requires any sort of actual learning, any actual education. This is all off the top of your head. And you compare a video by someone like H3H3, for example, or Leafy is here, just showing a video of a crazy feminist and laughing at how stupid it is, and their argument there is basically, haha, this person is stupid and fat. And then you look at the video about the same thing made by someone who's in the community, and their argument is, hey, this person's arguments are really stupid, and also they're stupid and fat. So you're not that much better. There isn't a whole world of difference between you and the people you're currently complaining about. And the worst part is that you think you're so much better. There is a sort of smugness oozing from this entire community, much like the atheist community that, like I said, is stemmed out of. A lot of people here think that there's some sort of that what they're doing is sort of some sort of intellectual labor, but it really isn't, because, like I said, these arguments that you're debunking are incredibly easy to debunk. You say that other people are reaching for the low-hanging fruit, but all of this fruit is low-hanging fruit. This isn't even hanging. It has all fallen to the ground, and you're just there to pick it up. Even the most sort of complex parts of this have been debunked so many times, like the wage gap, all kinds of statistics, that you just need to point to someone else's argument. You don't need to do any of the legwork. It requires nothing of you. Furthermore, this is incredibly counterproductive, and that's one of my biggest issues with this. Complaining about other YouTubers having a different sort of, as you think, inferior form of criticizing social justice is driving you further away from the goal. You see, as much as I don't like anti-feminism channels, generally speaking, as much as I have criticism of them, they are serving a sort of positive purpose, because I do think that the radicalization of the first world left wing is a serious problem. It could have some very damaging effects for many years to come, and there is a need to counteract that. Now, the problem is, I've heard some of these YouTubers say that this sort of playing mockery and not really dealing with the facts and not really debunking stupid ideas is somehow not as good, is unproductive. But the truth is, yes, it is. People want to be entertained. And if you ever want to bring about some sort of change, to see these policies no longer being pushed forward by government organizations, then you need public support. This is not going to change. It is not going to be brought to a change by a small circle jerk of pseudo-intellectuals fapping in each other's faces, okay? You do need the public, and the public wants to have a laugh. The public doesn't want to listen to a 40-minute video of some nobody going through a Guardian article and just then going through a bunch of studies and just monotonously reading what they say that debunks this. They want to have a laugh. If you want the tides to turn, you're gonna have to accept that bigger YouTubers and smaller YouTubers who just want to pwn or wreck, as the kids say, all these stupid feminists, you're gonna have to accept them and be happy that they're doing this, because they're bringing these problems to the attention of the public. And that's what you want, because after all, like I said, these videos you make don't require any intellectual rigor. Anyone can see why radical feminist ideas are crazy, and the reason why news organizations and big government organizations are supporting them are part of a much larger problem. That problem is the partisanship of America, and the way it sort of acts as an example for the rest of the world of how to act. So the American, both parties have become so radicalized that they refuse to agree on anything. So for a very long time, the American right was sort of the problem. They were very anti-free speech. They were very into trying to impose religious views onto people's everyday lives, and the left sort of got the moral high ground in a way. They felt moral superiority, but for a good reason. And as a lot of us, and this is my assumption, but I think a lot of you agree that left-wing people are lean more towards artistic sort of pursuits. Maybe it's sociological, maybe it's something genetic, but as it is what it is. And maybe it's because simply they were sort of disenfranchised at the time, and art was a good way to protest. But as a result, a lot of media organizations that are respected and that's in America basically everyone but Fox, are mostly populated by people from the left. And this is where this polarization comes in. You see, when these two parties have so much animosity, they refuse to agree that the other one is right about anything. These parties will often have their entire demographic sort of oppose some of their own core values because the other party has already called dibs on the opposing view for some different reason which aligns with their own values. Fighting against things like, for example, an example that you understand, defending the oppression of women in Islamic countries because, they perceive the right as being the anti-Muslims, so if they criticize Islam, they're agreeing with the right wing, and they can't allow themselves to do that. They don't feel emotionally right about that. So that's the problem. So there's a huge polarization, and through time, the organizations that we get our information from and that we get our policies from have become mostly controlled by the left wing, academia too, to a degree, actually to a rather large degree. So this brings me back to my point. If you want to bring about some sort of change, you need the general public's view to change, and the general public's view is, as they've been fed for several decades now, is that feminism is good. Anyone who is against feminism or against anything resembling the civil rights movement as the Black Lives Matters movement is, or the way the social justice movement is similar to these movements, anyone who is against these things is necessarily a bigot or a sexist, and therefore anything that even calls itself feminism must be defended at all costs. That is the public view, left and right, because the right has been hearing this for years as well. They defend feminism at all costs because if they don't, they feel badly about themselves because they've been told that makes them a bad person. If you ever want to change this, if you ever want to make the movement of feminism less sacrosanct, less untouchable, you need the general public to sort of view it as it is. And I think that, as I've already said several times, since the radical feminist views are so ridiculous, so easy to debunk, if the general public sees these views, clearly they wouldn't agree with it. If the general public finds out that universities are quoting feminist thinkers, quote-unquote thinkers, that believe that 90% of the male population needs to be exterminated, they will be undoubtedly against this. I mean, even the majority of rather left-leaning, rather extremely left-leaning people will not stand for this. There is still some level which they cannot cross, where they can no longer justify not agreeing with some opinion simply because it pisses off the right wing. And the same goes for the right, who have for years been told that if they're anti-feminist, then they're anti-woman, which for a while was true but is no longer true. When the general public realizes this, there will be a shift. And because news networks and research centers, they need funding. These people need funding, and these people need viewers. Even if the people working there are unhappy about this, if the money stops flowing, if the general public wants different kinds of research and different kinds of entertainment, different kinds of news, where they no longer want this opinion espoused at all costs, then the money stops flowing in, and the people who work there, whether they like it or not, they're gonna have to get their marching orders or march to the unemployment line. The only way to bring about any real change is for the general public to realize that there is a problem, and for that to happen, you need them to be aware of what's going on. And for them to be aware of what's going on, you need them to get this information from somewhere. And for them to want to watch this information, it has to be entertaining. Some people want your boring 3-hour rants about how the wage gap isn't real. The rest of us, we just want to see a crazy feminist yelling and then chasing some guy with a camera and then tripping and falling on her face and getting arrested. That's how you get popular. That's how you propagate these ideas. Even if you're propagating a very stupid, very simple version of these ideas, the reality is, if you want to bring about any sort of change, you need to accept the fact that you'll have to align yourself with people you sometimes don't respect, sometimes don't agree with, and sometimes don't fully understand what they're fighting for, but you need them to be on your side. So to summarize everything I've said so far, the entire atheist YouTube community is a bunch of smug territorial assholes who are too busy having an idiotic turf war for the sake of their own feeling of superiority to get anything done. And even if I continue to make some videos making fun of feminists now and again, I would never want to associate myself with this ridiculous, clownish community.